Okay, so you were saying about what he was saying regarding the rearrangement of the Quran.
If I remember correctly, he was telling that it's divine order. God ordered to put the Quran in this order. And then I realized that, like, I think I had a small mistake there. Yeah, like, why not? Like,
Mhm.
if there is a God, if God wants to tell that, hey, you should, like, put those chapter into this order, then that will be the case, right? And that can be the case. So when you read the Quran and between those chapters, sometimes that's not even mostly, like, they don't follow each other.
Yeah, you were going to say that's not an argument, that's a question, but why would God do it in such a complicated manner? Like when people talk about Christopher Nolan, one of the things that he gets sometimes called out for is that he does things so complicatedly without any necessity, and it's merely an artistic choice, and from that standpoint it makes perfect sense. But for a god, it seems awfully ineffective. Like, if you can create it in order in the first place, why would you go through such a long procedure?
That's a question. Yeah, like,
Yeah.
as you confessed, that it's not an argument, but at least it's a reason to, be suspicious about what happened
Hmm.
in the past, right? So what
Yeah.
happened exactly? Why they burned all those Qurans? They believed that they had mistakes in it, or they wanted to standardize the Quran, because, like, there are many Qurans around and they have those orders in many different ways. So maybe
Hmm.
it was going to, create confusion more and more, and maybe that's why they wanted to do. But why that order is also a question. So some believe that it's divine, but that's also weird. If they believe that, like, this order is divine, they did it after Muhammad died.
But the angels supposedly came to talk to him in an order, and then the angel was not following the divine order.
That's the thing, right? If let's assume that God exists and God told Muhammad,
Hmm.
you know, indirectly, that, yeah, like, we are communicating, but in the end of the day, you are supposed to change the order of these chapters. Okay, God, whatever you wish. And let's suppose that there is X order, right?
Hmm. The divine order.
And then there are many, yeah, that would be the divine one, right? And then there will be
Hmm.
different kind of orders, like, created by humans. And then someone say, wait, we should, we shouldn't do that. And they burn. And when they burn, what if they burned the one that God told?
The correct order.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can
Uh,
you tell?
yeah, it's hard to tell. For some people, this is not very important, I mean, in the end of the day, like, all chapters exist there, and changing the order of them, it doesn't, create a big problem, and they go with it.
But you say for some people, I don't think that I've ever met a Muslim that is okay with whatever order. Like they make a very specific claim about this whole uncorruptible book.
Which is, it has never been corrupted.
Yeah, that there's this order, and it is so divine that no one can alter it.
But we have big problem about this one also, Julie. So when you
Mm.
talk about the corruption, people understand it in many different ways. So some people stretch the word in a crazy way, okay? For example, if you show them that a word is typed in a different way, they will
Hmm.
say, oh, it doesn't change the pronunciation, okay? that's not a, difference or corruption. And when you
Oh.
show them that there is a different pronunciation, then they will say, "Oh, but it doesn't change the meaning." And when you show them where the typing and the pronunciation changes the meaning, then they say,
Mhm.
"Oh, but it doesn't change the, general meaning of the Quran, or the new meaning doesn't contradict the Quran, or those different kind of meanings from those versions, they complete each other." So, like, for everything that you will point out, they
You
have an
can't win.
excuse, as I commented you, if you remember. They are well
Yeah.
prepared. They're studying this for 1,400 years. If you find some problems, maybe they're not problems, but if they're really problems, they have an answer for it, like many other things.
That's just moving the goalpost, isn't it?
Yeah, and for example, when it comes to this corruption thing or the versions of the Quran, like I hate discussing this one especially. When it comes to that, they bring other sources. For example, Hadith. They say, "Wait, you are so ignorant. You don't know anything about Islam. These are just qira. Like qira is just the recitation, like the way that you pronounce things." And they claim that there is a hadith, and it talks about why there are different versions of the Quran. They believe that,
Yeah.
like, the main opinion is like there are 7 versions, okay, but according to some that there
Mhm.
are 10, okay, but 3 of them are probably missing. We have 7 of them, and they believe that it's because of those tribes, like, not to create a confusion. Muhammad, you know, um, got the divine information and just, hey, the first tribe, come. This is how you are pronouncing these words, right? So voila, first version, and he did it for 7 tribes to make the Quran clear for each tribes.
Each of them. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's the excuse. That's how they try to save those verses in the Quran. And okay, I mean, maybe they're right. Maybe that's what happened. But still, it's very suspicious. It's creating a lot of suspicion. So, as you said, like okay, we will ask the question, not an argument, but in this time we can allow these questions because we have the right to be suspicious when such things happen or when people claim such things, right?
Yeah.
There is This book is protected by God, but it's not only one book, right? Because you think that there are 7 books, and 7 books are protected by God. And when you look at one of
Um.
them, it doesn't sound like
Mhm.
that there are other versions of this Quran, and it's not mentioned in the Quran. And they will say, okay, not everything is mentioned in the Quran. It's mentioned in Hadith. So there's
Oh.
this thing. Um, when you don't find something, they find something else.
What about the 7 versions? Um. Are they so different? Like, what are the
No,
differences?
no, they're not so
Okay.
different. And the one version is like the most common one. I think 95 or 90% of Muslims they use it. And the rest of
Mm.
them, one of them, the next famous one, I think like North Africa is using that version. And the difference is it's not big, Julie. So there are
Okay.
words typed differently, okay? And those differences are not that much different.
But
And
they're different.
it can be caused like, and there's another problem also, Julie. So when they were typing it in the first place, they were not using any dots, okay? No dots. So you know that they're
Okay.
dots, right? So they call it
Yeah.
haraka and other things also. And because there are
Mm.
no vowels, you don't know how to read it if you're not native speaker. Even if you're a native speaker, you may misread it
Even
because
if you're a native speaker.
yeah, even. And they said, wait, like this is a problem. We should put some dots, you know? And that's the excuse.
Mhm.
Like they claim that Arabs they know how to pronounce it. And no, like if you know, pronounce it differently when you're typing, it can mean different things. The only way to them, they must hear it. So that was their culture. They were not writing that much, right? They were just speaking, like not huge problems. But yeah, as I said, then they realized that that's a problem, especially for
Mhm.
non-Arabs. Okay, so for them, the problem is not very important. It's not huge. But for non-Arabs, they don't know how to read, and that's why they took those dots in the Quran. I think that's a corruption. Yeah, it's an improvement. But if God wanted to send those letters in that way, if that was the way, then why put dots on it? Let it be like that. Maybe that's what God wished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to claim that it's not corrupted, that doesn't that makes it that makes your claim invalid because you're changing something. Even if you just change like a couple of words, you're changing it.
Yeah, and the thing is, Julie, when you choose, like, let's suppose one dot, it will mean something. But if you choose another one, then the meaning may
Change it,
change.
meaning.
So how did you choose which one? And that's why like they have those different versions.
And
And that's
what do
it.
they say to that? How how are they choosing what to change? Like context?
I think interpretation and context, like, as I said, like even the meaning is not that much different.
Do you remember, for example? Yeah,
Like
go
for
ahead.
example, like the most famous surah Al-Fatiha, one version says Malik, the other version says Malik. One means owner, the other means ruler or king.
Okay.
Owner and king. So we're very close meanings in the context, okay? Not in the dictionaries. But when you look at the
Mm-hmm.
context, like it's not, you know, disturbing you. It's both goes
Yeah,
really
you can use
normal.
it interchangeably.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So again, like one of the excuses, they you know those versions are complementing each other.
What about I don't remember if this was a case of something altered, but do you remember the whole thing with the bees and Ben? And
Oh,
when you were discussing,
mm-hmm.
is that like a change or just
Uh,
interpretation?
I don't remember if it was about dots.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't remember right now.
You see, even those things, like it's so complicated. If you add a dot, if you remove a dot, if you keep this context, then it will mean it's a plural. But if you don't,
Mm.
uh, it's a very complicated language.
Oh, but according to them, it's okay because they recorded everything. Like they're, you know, they even claim that even those, you know, versions and those dots are under record. Like they recorded when they put those things. And yeah, they're
But
trying
that
to
was
show that
after the revelation.
after what?
The revelation, the original message.
Sure, sure, after the original message. Yeah, but they trust those people in the past. Those chain of narration, to them, it's
Yeah, why?
perfect.
Okay,
Because
but
they
why?
believe. Like my answer is because they believe.
That was the thing that I was also getting from those comments. Like, why have you established that this is the source that you can trust? Like they
Yeah,
say, well, the chain of narration isn't broken. So
isn't
what?
broken.
I
Yeah,
don't get it. Why?
yeah. If the first one got the wrong information or misinterpreted something, even if the chain is so strong, doesn't mean you reach the true information. But according to
And
them, they don't look at only one person. They look at many different sources. They compare, and again, when it comes to big details, Julie, you will find that those famous scholars in the past, they even argue each other. Some of them, they even hate each other. Okay, and again, like the same thing happens if you say, "Hey, look, this scholar said this thing also." They say, "No, we don't accept that." Why? Because the other scholars, they don't think that he's reliable.
based on what?
Yeah, and the subjectivity, becomes clear when you dive into.
Yeah, like if the message was so unifying, then you wouldn't have several scholars saying several things and people following whatever they feel they relate to the most.
Yeah,
Like the message would be one. There would be no need for scholars even.
yeah, yeah. Even some of them go extreme. So when it comes to Quran, they even put the Quran in the second place. They say Quran cannot be understood without hadith or interpretation. So, as if God was not able to express his opinions, right?
Yeah.
That's weird. They do, yeah. They think that that was the case.
And what about different sects? Like, yeah, I know that they don't think that Ahmadi is a valid sect. They use the same book, right? And the interpretation is widely different. Like it doesn't even seem to come from the same source when you hear someone who is following those.
Those
And
are
of course, then they will.
those are public speakers. Don't care about them, Julie.
Yeah,
Yeah, public speakers. Public speakers. They establish the sect. So who cares about them?
sure. Your public speaker is from what? What is he following? Like, what is the branch that he's following?
I don't know. I don't know.
If questioning was encouraged, don't you think that analyzing those arguments that oppose the main thinking should be more honest? That sounds as dogmatic as anything Christians do.
Like, still, we cannot be in their minds, Julie. I cannot claim directly that they're questioning dishonestly, okay? But whatever the conclusion they have, yeah, they strongly believe in those claims. And sometimes it's hard to get why exactly, because, they don't want to discuss with you. Or they just,
Yeah.
run away because they think that they're not able to speak freely.
Yeah. But were you getting the point that the guy was trying to make, the my lover guy?
Um,
What do you think about that?
like he's saying that like this is a evolutionary result. That's it.
Yeah.
And I forced him to make the argument. Therefore, that means God exists. He said, "No, no, no, I'm not claiming God exists." Then what the hell are you talking about? If the question is why do you
Um.
believe God exists, then why you're giving such an example?
Oh, okay. So I thought that his point was that the fact that it has survived for so long and it has proven useful to humanity,
Okay,
it means that God exists.
but he didn't say that, right? I forced him. He said, "No, no, no, I don't try to say God exists." Then what are you trying to say? I was trying to understand, but as you said, he was too intense and
Oh God, yes.
like trying to find an excuse to run away, and he found it. Okay.